it's very easy to get fooled by this whole thing about there are liberals in Pakistan, this whole concept, moderate Muslim country in Pakistan. And the Pakistanis are, they're con artists. The whole country is based on lies, and the whole country lives on lies. And because they do that, there are a bunch of people who interact with the rest of the world and become the interface of the ugly underbelly of Pakistan, and they kind of package it nicely and present it to the rest of the world. And very often the rest of the world gets fooled by it, and Indians most of all, because for the Indians to see somebody who sounds like a moderate, reasonable person in Pakistan, who will also criticize his own government, which is all an act. Because how else do you develop confidence of an Indian in you? By criticizing your own government. And then, of course, the Indians have this comprehension problem. So you will hear, and over the years, I've heard many of them, they'll say, oh, that guy drinks whiskey. So he drinks whiskey, so that means he's liberal and moderate. It just means that, he's doing something which, according to the tenets of his faith, which is also actually debatable, but according to the tenets of his faith, he should not be doing. That does not make him a liberal. Drinking whiskey or drinking alcohol is not the definition of a liberal. Or they will say that, when I went out there, somebody offered me, a free ticket to ride or did not charge money. How does that make anybody liberal or, make him moderate or make him welcoming or make him very hospitable? Or you will hear stuff like, but look at the kind of clothes people wear. They don't wear burqa, which is also factually wrong now, because you see more burqas on the streets of Pakistan today than you probably saw 20 years back. But, we have these stereotypes on the basis of which we decide whether somebody is a liberal or not. Angrezi achhi bolta hai, so he must be a liberal. Which is, it's like bizarre, this nonsense which happens. And you'll often hear a lot of these former diplomats, who go on these shitty track tours and meet these bloody Pakistanis who come out there. All of them are liars, these Pakistanis who come. They are all confidence artists, right? And they will all come and say stuff which actually even seasoned diplomats, seasoned military men, they just get, swayed by it. And over the years, and I'm not saying that, I was born with this insight. It is over a period of, almost 30 years that I noticed that this way of analysis of where a person is coming from and what a person is completely a fabrication. It's a fabrication of our own minds. They are playing tricks on us, and we are falling for those tricks. Which is why I, at least for the last decade, maybe even longer, I've realized that this concept there is a Pakistani liberal is an oxymoron. It does not exist. It's not even an endangered species. It's an extinct species. If at all there was such a species in Pakistan. And people don't understand how Pakistan came about. People don't understand the deep-seated inferiority complex of the Punjabi Muslim in Pakistan, who probably is not, who always has to show that he's more Muslim than everybody else. And he can't get rid of his caste, origins. And that is what it is. So these are people whose forefathers did not have the guts to fight the invaders and the converters. And these are people who gave in to forced conversions. And because they suffer from a kind of a Stockholm syndrome, they have internalized that they were the ones who were actually the invaders. Actually, the Punjabi Muslim is the guy who actually got invaded. He is the guy who always got conquered. In all of history, there is not a single Punjabi Muslim general who has ever won a war. There is not a single Punjabi Muslim general, right? So there is this deep-seated inferiority in these Punjabi Muslims. And frankly speaking, over the period of time, I've just developed utter contempt for these people. And not that many of the others are any better. Sindh, for example, you'll see, the Sindhis saying that no, we have a very syncretic culture. Nonsense, utter nonsense. The Sindhis are basically, they are, like Punjabis, but a less boisterous version of Punjabis, but as screwed up in their heads, which I also have realized, I would say somewhat recently, because when I saw some people who I had interacted with, and we can take names later on, and the kind of stuff they have said, I kind of realized that these are such dredges of humanity. These are such bloody pigs and lowlifes. These are the kind of people that the day they get a chance, they will carry out a kind of a massacre of Hindus that you can't even imagine. Uh, they their dreams are of sexual violence. That you would have seen a whole lot of videos of these people who can't bloody get 2 square meals, but are thinking that once we invade India, we will get hold of Hindu women and we'll keep them as our slave girls. This is the mentality. There are people who will express them is in somewhat more sophisticated terms, but the bulk of the population of Pakistan is like that. So make no mistake about it. This is not propaganda. This is what they are. This is who they are. And the sooner we realize it, I think the better it will be for people in India of the kind of scum that we are dealing with across the border.
Now, what is fascinating to me is, and today, normally I like avoid taking names. Going to break that rule. तूने अभी बात की वो, so obviously you were mentioning that sophisticated Pakistani tucha Mubashir Lukman, जिसने बोला था हम बॉलीवुड.
Yeah, he's a dirtbag. He's a dirtbag even in Pakistan. I've had friends who've known this asshole. He's the kind of a guy who at one point of time wanted to run away from Pakistan because he was shit scared that something might happen to him and his family and his wealth.
अच्छा, इसका सॉफ्टवेयर अपडेट हुआ था.
इन सबका होते रहता है यार. It's a regular feature. So, look at him, the kind of thing he says. He fantasizes about sex slaves. That is what they are. That is who they are. So don't make any mistake about it. Again, he's not the most sophisticated one of them. He's not even the kind of guy you would want to ever invite to your house. Not that I want to invite any of them anymore. But I don't think I would even want to associate with somebody like him.
And you know what the funny thing is that Mubashir Lukman, and then there was this Maulana, मैं उसका नाम भूल गया. Again वो उसके ऊपर भी blasphemy का चार्ज लग गया था, उसकी भी फटी थी. तो नाम भूल गया यार.
ये सारे फट्टू हैं. All these bloody Pakistani Punjabi Muslims, they are big fattus. They are the kinds who will talk big, swing their arms, behave as though they are like the lords of the ring kind of a deal. And the moment they get a their face, they pipe down because that is what they are. So you will see on a daily basis, you will see if something happens, then the government will be responsible for it. Then something happens and nothing, they can't do shit all, right? That's what they are. They will be boisterous. They will issue threats. They will act as though the moment you do something to them, the heavens are going to fall. But the moment you do something to them, nothing happens because they are like, there's a very colorful expression in Punjabi that when you take a leak, there is a lot of froth which comes. And, it also... So Punjabi Muslim is like that, basically. So I know it's not the best of analogies to give about them, but I think is probably most appropriate in their case.
So here's the thing that fascinates me about this entire lot. Okay, I understand. So the excuses that I listen to and hear over here when I am in 6 months, I can't avoid. I'm going to meet Pakistanis in some literature festival, something or the other. So the
Yeah, but why
excuses
do you have to meet them?
ओ यार सामने आ जांदे ने मैं की करा ठीक है
Just ignore them, yeah. Look past them. I don't even acknowledge them.
ते वो कहंदे की हैं कि यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड आईएसआई घर पे आके उठा लेती है ये कर
That's
लेती
an
है वो
excuse.
I'm just giving you their version मैं तेरे को उनका वर्जन
I've
बता रहा हूँ
heard
I know
it.
you've heard it
Every bloody Pakistani tells you that every other Pakistani you meet is an ISI agent. I don't know if it's happened with you. It's always happened with me. Everybody tells you that everybody else is a ISI agent. It seems like the whole country is an ISI agent, which might not be very far from the truth, because they all suck up to the army like nothing else. यार इतनी इनमें हिम्मत नहीं है. They are such a bunch of cowards. Even on television, they can't even take the name of the army chief, of the ISI. You know what they say, which is actually quite poetic. They say Riyasat, which basically means acknowledging that the state is now the army and the army is the state. So they are such bloody cowards, these bloody Punjabi Muslims. They are the people who will constantly, act and talk big. But the moment they have to take on somebody powerful, they just pipe down. They can't even name them. They can't discuss them. They can't do anything about them. In India, for example, we openly discuss, armed forces. We'll discuss our army. We'll discuss the intelligence agencies. We will have a criticism of them also when we think that they have not succeeded, they have failed. We will talk about it. We will criticize them. Yeah, of course, there is always pushback, but pushback comes from ordinary people, right? It does not come from the state. The state doesn't say anything out here the moment you criticize anybody. But these guys are such bloody cowards. इनका मुंह से बोलती बंद हो जाती है इनकी नौकरी चली जाएगी, इनको वो खतरा है. तो फिर अगर नौकरी चली जाएगी एंड वो आपको यू आर स्कैर्ड दैट यू लूज योर जॉब, then please don't give me lectures of how independent and how honest your journalism is. There is assholes who will say, I have done nothing but journalism for 50 years, as though you've done some favor to us or to people in Pakistan. Does anybody give a shit whether you've done journalist for 50 years or 100 years or 200 years? Who cares? What? You did it because you could not do anything else. Most people who became journalists in the old days did it because they failed in everything else and they became journalists, यार. तो ऐसे एक्ट करते हैं जैसे सबके फेवर कर रहे हैं. मत करो यार, अगर नहीं करना तो कॉपीराइटर बन जाओ किसी एड एजेंसी में. मैंने और कुछ नहीं किया, सिर्फ जर्नलिज्म किया. तो हम क्या करें अगर तूने जर्नलिज्म किया है? तेरी आरती उतारे साले. तो दैट इज द काइंड ऑफ पीपल दे आर यार. तो क्या तू मेरे को भी आज बड़ा प्रोवोकेटिव सा टॉपिक
नहीं तो इसके लिए तो मेरा काम है. अच्छा ये अच्छा मैंने नोट किया है, ये लोग हमको सुनाते हैं कि हम ये नहीं करते. मेरी पॉडकास्ट पे या मैं अभिजीत और श्याम शर्मा शो करते हैं, हम लोग के मैक्सिमम मीम्स मोदी पे होते हैं. मैक्सिमम मीम्स मोदी, अमित शाह, कुछ भी हो हम तो पेलते हैं. अच्छा मैंने तो ट्वीट भी लिखे हैं अगेंस्ट रॉ, आईबी, सबके अगेंस्ट मैंने लिखे हुए हैं. मैंने क्रिटिसाइज किया हुआ है आईबी का फेलियर. जैसे आई थिंक मैंने कितनी बार जो कश्मीर में आईबी के फेलियर है उसके बारे में लिखा है. दुलत रॉ का चीफ है फॉर्मर. मैं तो दुलत डॉक्ट्रिन को मॉक करता हूँ ऑन अ डेली बेसिस. दुलत रॉ का चीफ नहीं तो फिर तो हम लोग सब करते हैं. ये साले ये तो अपनी फौज को फौज भी नहीं बोल पाते, ये लोग एस्टैब्लिशमेंट बोलते हैं.
They can't say it ना, they're scared. So मतलब अगर इतनी तुम्हारी फटती है तो बिहेव ऐसे करते हो कि जैसे यू आर द पैरागॉन ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंट एंड फ्री मीडिया इन द वर्ल्ड, and they are taking pot shots at Indian media. Okay, in this current episode there have been times, Kushal, and you and I, we were talking in those days that there was suddenly this in their over exuberance and over excitement, they just went overboard. But the fact of the matter is that the news which they had got was absolutely accurate. On the night of the 7th and 8th, Karachi had been attacked. People out here did not understand that when you say Karachi had been attacked, the attack was on the Malir cantonment on an air defense unit, right? Their radar systems or whatever. It was not on the Karachi port. But out here also, many people in the media have no idea what Karachi is and what is there and what is not there. They all thought that Karachi port has been attacked. So then they just took off, The same thing happened with Lahore. The same thing happened in Sialkot. The same thing happened in Gujranwala. The same thing happened in multiple other places in Pakistan, right? Please tell me, the people who accuse Indian media, and of course there was gross exaggeration and they just went completely overboard. No doubts about that. And I think there was the correction the next day. But people who are talking about the Indian media, let's talk about the Pakistani media. Which of those guys have had the balls to ask how come your 9 terrorist bases were taken out? Okay. How come your 11 or more air bases were taken out? How come your entire air defense system was taken out? Why has no Pakistani, Najam Pheti, Ghas Foos, all these assholes whom you interact with, have they had the balls to even ask these questions? Have they had the balls to ask about an account of the losses that the Pakistanis undertook? They've just said, okay, fine, we fired missiles. You fired missiles, all those missiles were brought down. Please show us any solid evidence of any loss being done in India. Let me give you an example. Top of the line journalists, okay, were saying drones swarming over Delhi. यार मैं दिल्ली में रहता हूं, मैं तो उस दिन घूम रहा था दिल्ली में यार, 9-10 की सुबह को, मैंने तो एक ड्रोन नहीं देखा. Traffic was even more than normal, right? Internet has been taken out. Yeah, they were trying to mount attacks on India, right? There were some Indian departments in which there was 1 million attacks which they were trying to launch. Million. And I'm using this number advisedly. But the systems were so robust, they could not penetrate. So yeah, you were trying to launch an attack. Big bloody deal. It didn't work. They claimed, and these are senior journalists, Mir, Peer, Teer types, खुद्दू जो हैं, इनके घूमते हैं अनपढ़ गवार टाइप के लोग. These guys were saying massive cyber attack on India. The grid system has been taken out. यार मैं तो गुड़गांव में रहता हूं, जहां पर the grid system very often is kind of patchy. Perfect electricity was coming here. If now that is your definition of taking out the grid system, great, man. Please take it out more often so that I get proper electricity. So this is the kind of shit these guys were talking. I can give you innumerable examples of Pakistani mainstream media pushing completely fabricated, manufactured, and fake narratives about the kind of damage or the kind of attacks that the Pakistanis have launched. Utter nonsense. All of it. And what is worse is that there are Pakistanis outside in Pakistan, in the West, who have actually plucked that line without bothering to study the evidence. None of them have shown any evidence to the claims they are making of what are the kind of damages the Pakistanis caused. So, it's very easy to target the Indian media. Let's talk about the Pakistani media also, na? Let's talk about their anchors. Let's talk about their journalists. Let's talk about their vox populi. Let's talk about that. And then you'll find out what dredges of humanity they are.
How do we treat them? It's a genuine question. मैं तेरे को पूछ रहा हूँ. तेरे को लगेगा साले फिर. But let's say, for देख हम तो जो इंडिया में रहते हैं ना, उनके लिए तो इशू है नहीं. आप तो हिकारत से बात करो, look down upon them. But there are spaces outside India where, you might be sharing an office with a alleged Pakistani liberal. the rare species that is not found on planet Earth, और जब मिलती है तो उसको ऐसे करके करना पड़ता है. How do we deal with that?
Look, if you're working in a particular office and you come across him, you deal with him at a professional level. Don't try and become friendly with him. Don't try and, but you deal with him at purely professional level and leave it there. Problem is that people tend to get very close, tend to have friendships, have lunch together, have dinner together, that kind of nonsense. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Because they are not your friends. They can never be your friend. They will never want to be your friends. And if they want to be your friends, it's only to stab you in the back when they get the opportunity. It's as simple as that. Whether you like it or not, whether you think I'm being very, harsh and radical, this is exactly what happened during partition, didn't it? What did they do? My wife's own family, the same thing. And my wife's grandmother had this grouse till the time she died. She died at the age of 103. She had this grouse. That somebody who was supposedly the best friend of her son, elder son, and was very well connected, a powerful family in Lahore, literally had them ousted from their house and left them with nothing. So there are so many stories like this. And yet, after having suffered all this, if you still think, you can be friend. Let me give you an example. You remember that fellow from the US, Tarar, Sajid Tarar, ठीक है? वो आगे बकवास करते रहता है कि मैं तो जी इतनी अच्छी दोस्ती, ये वो पीस, ये वो. Just look at his attitude during those days when the conflict was going on. Was he talking peace? What are you talking about, yaar? And we let these guys come to our country. Why? For what? So, there is a problem of comprehension even in governmental circles in India.
Tarar was also there when Asim Munir made that hateful speech to overseas Pakistanis.
Yeah. And
Tarar was there in the crowd.
Yeah, he was clapping.
ये अरे मगर ये हमारे लोगों की हरामजादगी है ना.
तो है अब उसमें तू फिर दोबारा कर लियो. तू तो कनाडा में रहता है, you know how things work.
हाँ, तो मतलब हमारे लोग इतने कमजर्द हैं यहाँ पे, और बोलने की हिम्मत नहीं रखता. अब मैं तेरे को बताता हूँ, मैं रिसेंटली कनाडा इंडिया फाउंडेशन के गाला पे गया. बाय द वे, अमेजिंग इवेंट. सदगुरु वाज देयर, वेरी वेल डन. एंड पहली बार मुझे किसी इंडियन के ऊपर गर्व हुआ जो यहाँ रहता है. जो स्पीच दी है चेयरमैन ने, और सीधा स्ट्रेट टॉकिंग चेयरमैन ऑफ CIF ने स्पीच दी है, और एंड आई वाज लाइक वाह, फाइनली किसी में तो गुदा है इधर. सो वहां पे भी जब मैं इवेंट में था, ऑब्वियसली पीपल
क्या बोला?
he took this whole foreign interference bogey head on, and he exposed what's happening. He's like, nobody in the Canadian side wants to talk. We always get good feedback from the Indian side, and these are Canadians, right? These are Canadians of Indian origin. And finally, at least someone had the spine to call a spade, and it was good. And there were, lawmakers, everyone was there in the crowd. So it's not like important people were not there in the crowd. So I was glad. But what happened was, पोस्ट इवेंट जब लोग डिनर खाने जाते हैं, एज ऑलवेज डायस्पोरा आता है मेरे पास. अच्छा है आप बोलते हो, नहीं क्या हमारे तो बिजनेस है. अरे मैं वेला हूं इधर. लोग ऐसे बिहेव करते हैं जैसे मैं तो वेला हूं, मेरे पास तो कुछ है नहीं, मेरा तो कोई घर नहीं है, मेरे ऊपर तो कोई थ्रेट नहीं है. सी दिस प्रॉब्लम सुशांत हैज ऑलवेज बीन कि तुम संघर्ष करो, तुम्हारे नाम का हम चेक फाड़ देते हैं.